Hey guys, Wednesday, November 19th, 19th it is. About to review some comics. Before I do, I just want to show you what I picked up from the store today because um, it was a lot. So just a horizontal cross section, I guess, of everything I got. Um, so many things. Today was a big week. It's gonna be a big month, actually. I think the most of it's over. I think there's one more, a few more copies, a few more editions of Casanova volumes, rather. As you can tell, it's still in the shrink wrap. Maybe you can tell that. Haven't opened it yet. I'm going to read it, possibly do a separate video for a separate review of just the Casanova hardcover. And of course, as you can see, I also got the Batman action figure thing because, I mean, how could I resist? This is the Batman I grew up with. So I just had to have it. Um, Now that goes away. And now it's time to jump into the books that I did read so far. So starting with Moon Knight, issue number 9. Yeah, Moon Knight, issue number 9. Yeah, so sorry, I just spent so many hours reading all this, and this was the first book I read actually this week. So anyway, Moon Knight, issue 9. Unlike this is probably the least one-shotty of the Moon Knight books so far. If only because it deals with kind of the Moon Knight, I guess, history more than a lot of the others do. A lot of the others you can really just jump right in. You don't have to know anything really about the character or anything that happened previously to really understand the book in its entirety. But with this one, we start off in Mark Spector's therapist's office, or what seems to be a therapist. The relationship isn't made clear exactly, but he allows her to perform hypnosis on him. Also, she's apparently tried to kill him a few times, so very complicated relationship. And it deals with kind of the history, and they give you a brief, a brief little summary of the Moon Knight character in the beginning of every book, but I felt I needed a bit more, more about the character. So second page takes us to Egypt, which is of course where he got the start as Moon Knight, where he died, came back as Khonshu and all that. And then the story takes us into her memories then. So kind of her origin story of why she's doing what she's doing, which involves manipulating the events of the previous Moon Knight books. She was kind of the invisible hand leading everyone to everything to happen. And this is the most, I guess, conventional Moon Knight has been. Definitely the worriest. This doesn't feel as kind of experimental as the other Moon Knight books have done. And that's kind of to its detriment, because that's what me personally and what I think a lot of other readers have come to expect, is that every issue of Moon Knight's going to play with comics somehow, and this one doesn't do it as much, in favor of telling a more complete story. And probably the biggest sign of that is this issue ends on a cliffhanger. This issue ends with something really big happening to change the status quo of the book so far. And it'll probably continue into the next issue. This is probably the first Moon Knight issue that is definitively not a one-shot, that you will have to read another book in order to finish the story started in this one. The main plot story. This is definitely the end of Act 1 sort of deal with this book. Still very well written. It's still a very good book, one of the better ones coming out every month. But this is a departure from what we've come to expect, I feel, from Moon Knight. Not going to say it's good or bad yet. I just wanted to point that out, that it was different, that now we are getting a bigger story that will stretch across multiple issues instead of just a one-shot, which I can recommend. Just boom, read this one book. So yeah, that's that. I'm excited to see how it goes, though. I'm excited to see how this book, that has been just one shot after one shot, handles a story that continues over both, and see if it's worth it. Especially because this one was so word heavy, which these books normally are. So moving on to Batman 66 and Green Hornet, final issue of this book. So I guess I'll review kind of the overall arc. And as I said with the previous issues I'd reviewed of this, I did enjoy it. But I also took a look at some of the regular Batman 66 stuff. One of my friends has an account, and he's been buying them digitally. So I took a look at some of those. And as good as this is, as much as I enjoyed this, especially in relation to Batman 66, the show, I feel that the regular non-crossover book, just the Batman 66 regular book, did this a whole lot better. And this was still good, but if you really want kind of, I think, a better example of Batman 66 done as a comic, you would be better served by just Batman 66, the comic. That's about that. As for the conclusion, it concludes kind of twisty. Not going to say it comes out of nowhere, but it's pretty good. You have some good kind of wordplay. Feels, again, like it's very consistent with the show. It feels very like Batman 60-60, but, and like I said, I did not enjoy it, but knowing what the rest of this series is like, I think having this be a 6-part crossover kind of makes it lose a lot of its steam. A lot of the others are maybe 1 to 3 issue arcs, and they're shorter issues. So I feel like by stretching it out, you kind of lose a bit of the punch of it. Speaking of Batman 66, I also picked up Batman 66, The Lost Episode, The 2A Crimes of Two-Face, which was originally not a script, but a television treatment done by Harlan Ellison, the famous science fiction writer, for the Batman 60 television show, the TV treatment. That was never produced, but they decided to turn the treatment, which they include in the back of the book, with some pictures. Not pictures of the thing, because they never produced it, but just pictures of Batman 60s. So they took this treatment for television and turned it into a comic book. And as you can see, you get a lot here. You get, I mean, not only the story, which is adapted from probably a 1-hour show, because these arcs usually lasted 2 episodes. Or this one would have, I think, lasted 2 episodes. Especially Two-Face, everything is 2. Blah, blah, blah. And so you get the whole book, which is pretty long. So, boom. And then you get kind of the story of the Lost Episode, and then you get just pencils of everything. I'm sorry about my phone going off. So then you get just pencils of everything. So you get a very big package, and the story itself is very well done. I mean, I read the whole thing, so reading the TV, reading the story treatment for that, you definitely lose something in the transition from from television show to comic. But as far as an adaptation of that treatment this is very well done. And I enjoy so much, but I enjoy the art a lot. And it really comes through in the pencils, just how good the art really is. It's just really, really well done. Even if the likenesses of everything isn't, Batman doesn't always look like Adam West as Batman, but he still looked good. And the story itself, again, you can sort of tell why it wasn't made. It doesn't have quite the same feel as a normal episode of Batman did. But it is a very good episode. Actually, what this kind of feels like, I've been watching Arrow, the CW Green Arrow show, And it feels like this could have been an episode of that, because it is kind of more dramatic. I don't know if it's just kind of the, this comic, but the way they do it, it does feel more dramatic. It just feels less kind of campy and like more of, it feels less like Batman 66 and more of a different sort of Batman show or a Batman story. But I did enjoy it. You do get a lot. I mean, it's $10, so I don't know. Maybe I would have felt better at 8, but you do get a lot, and it is very well done. But it's hard to recommend because if you like Batman 66, this is different than kind of the normal campy comedy you get. There's still some of that in here, but it's also kind of a more traditional Batman story, if not a more lighthearted one. So that is that. Moving on to Justice League number 36, second issue of the Amazovirus arc, as you can tell from the thing there, title. Ugh. And really, this is where we really jump in. The first one really set it up and kind of left us on, the Amazovirus is out, and then just end. And so this, we catch up a day later with the after effects. And it's probably, as you can tell from the cover, very kind of 28 days later inspired. So you have all these diseased people running through Metropolis, and everything's just kind of in ruin. With all these kind of people, very zombie looking. They're not zombies, but they give the appearance of zombies. And then you have Batman and Superman, who are the only two Justice Leaguers, not including Lex Luthor, who are not infected. Oh, and Wonder Woman, who are not infected by the virus, trying to clean up things. These two specifically are looking for patient 0. Luthor says if he gets patient 0, then he can find a cure for the virus. And it only affects humans, which is why Superman can go out without a mask. Wonder Woman isn't human. Batman needs a suit. And Lex Luthor is in his suit also. Yeah. I don't quite get why Arthur Curry, I guess because he's half human. I guess that's why Aquaman's there. But yeah, just got a very heavy sort of 28 Days Later vibe. Someone pulling the strings somewhere else, it seems, wanting to assassinate Luthor. So one of the better Justice League books that have been out, I've been kind of meh on Justice League for a while now. And this is definitely one of the better books, although it is more of a Batman-Superman book. Again, over half the league is out of commission in this. So I think maybe that's why it's stronger. Maybe you don't have a focus on so many characters, and everyone fits very nicely. It doesn't feel like they're shoving anyone in because you have that just reduced character count. So if you've been out on Justice League for a while, just not, wasn't really doing anything for you, this might be a good point to jump back in. And as long as you know Amazovirus let out last issue, you don't really need a lot more. You don't really have to pick up the previous issue. So just start with this one. And hopefully it continues being good. Moving on to, I just said that felt like a Batman-Superman story, to the actual Batman-Superman book, issue number 16, start of a new arc. And this arc just has an interesting premise, and is just starting that, acting on that premise very well. So it starts off with a lot of Superman. It just feels kind of like a Superman book in the beginning, but then things get very tragic. So you have Superman saving whales, and you have people in a hospital trying to cheer up the children dressed as superheroes. It's all very nice. And then the whale suddenly explodes, and Steel, Crypto, and Supergirl all get hit by this mysterious weapon. We don't know what it is. And it like hurts them. It actually hurts them a lot. And the weapon also strikes the person in the hospital pretending to be Superman. And he survives long enough to walk out of the hall to not scare the children. Very honorable. Like in just a few pages, you get to they really like make this character very likable, which is very like hard to do, especially for like someone who is on screen for is on 2 pages and dies. Like to make you feel like enough emotional connection to be like, oh wow, that takes a lot of talent. And then you get kind of the main thing when Batman joins the investigation to figure out what happened, because it was too fast for Superman to see. And Batman comes to the conclusion that that Superman has gotten his own Joker. So again, very, very good premise. And maybe the Joker is being a bit overused. Also, the art in this book is amazing. I think it's a new artist, and they're doing a hell of a job. Hopefully, as you can tell from the pages I showed, there's just one more that I want to show you. This one. Just very good page, very good use of light and shadow and color. Just really good looking book. And so yeah, the premise is just like how Batman's Joker, the Joker, works in a way that Batman can never quite deduce, can never expect, can never see coming. Superman found himself a villain that moves faster than him and in ways that he can't see coming. So someone potentially a lot more dangerous than Luthor, and without any rhyme or reason. Someone who wants to see Superman suffer as part of the game. So very, very neat, and I think it's a whole lot better, or at least a lot less lazy than just having the Joker work on Superman. So that's just my 2 cents. Really excited to see how this arc turns out, because hell of a first issue for it. Moving on to to Superman and Wonder Woman. Start of a new creative team. You have Pete Tomasi working on it now. I don't know why I pointed to the new two. You have Pete Tomasi working on it now. I think it's a new artist too. I'm pretty sure. And this book I did not like as much, mainly because of how they treat Wonder Woman. Or rather, how they portray Wonder Woman, not so much how she's treated. Because in this, they make Wonder Woman compassionless. She's, not to mince words, she's a huge bitch in this for no reason. I mean, I do understand the interpretation that Wonder Woman is a warrior first, that the Amazon culture is just war-based, she's not the god of war, and she's all about kind of, she's the least merciful, I guess, of the big three. And she's about kind of practicality and pragmatism and whatever. And I get that interpretation, but I much prefer kind of the Gail Simone interpretation, which is that her main character trait, her main claim to heroism is her compassion, that she's the most compassionate of the Justice Leaguers. She's not like the most benevolent, that would be Superman, who's like the most kind of straight edge, benevolent, just omni good guy. She's not the most, I guess, rigid, like she's not the most about justice. That would be Batman, who's kind of the justice, there's a right and there's a wrong, the moral absolutist, I guess. She's like the most understanding. She's one of the most kind of compassion. I forget what book this was in. I forget if Gail Simone wrote it or people just give Gail Simone credit, but Wonder Woman said, like, the way of the Amazon is don't kill if you can, like, don't kill if you can injure, don't injure if you can, like, not injure, don't injure if you can harm, don't harm if you can, like, just disarm, don't disarm before you extend your own arm, don't extend your own arm before you allow, like, someone to shake it, or something like that. But basically, whatever you feel the need to, try and take one step back and show mercy, and that's the Wonder Woman I like. That's who I feel is a more heroic character. And in this one, Wonder Woman is just kill the enemies, don't even bother protecting the people are weak, blah blah blah, there's no use, they would die if they were on Themyscira, blah blah blah, they should toughen up, and they'll never do that if we keep on saving them. So they just I don't know why Tomasi makes her out to be such like a huge, uncaring, like pragmatic to a fault bitch, but they do, and it just doesn't look good on her as a character. So that really turned me off. And then at that point, I just didn't really care enough about her as a character anymore, and Superman's just kind of it just makes sense why Superman is even attracted to her anymore, because Superman cares, so much about being good and doing the, if not the right thing, the thing that saves as many people. That's like these two shouldn't even, like I kind of got it before when they were, when they were both kind of nice and they, I kind of got that relationship even if I'm more of a Clark and Lois guy. But just because you change Wonder Woman so much and you don't kind of change Superman's reaction to her at all to be one of more disapproval instead of just tisk tisk. I don't really care when bad things happen to them. It just doesn't hit me the way it's supposed to. And then at the end of this issue, Tomasi introduces a new character. At least I think he's a new character called Wonder Star, who's just another kind of Superman, godly, powerful character who's something's gonna happen with them, probably, because that's how story arcs work. But yeah, I just did not like this book so much because of what they do to Wonder Woman. Again, I'll stick with it, probably just because I do like Peter Tomasi's work on Batman and Robin and other books. So I'll stick with it through the arc, but if I will not be able to keep reading this if Wonder Woman continues to act how they make her act in this book. So that's my opinion. Moving on again to the next book. Sorry, just rearranging things here so they don't fall off my desk. Which is just Wonder Woman, which again got a new creative team. This time the Finches. Finches. I forget their first names. I want to say Mark and Diana, but that's not right. But yeah, I just can't. What would it be? Come on, have their names on the title page. Where is it? It's not here, I don't think. Do not see it. Can't remember their names. Oh, Meredith Finch and David Finch. Meredith and David. Okay, there we go. Meredith and David Finch. That took too long. Anyway, Wonder Woman. Completely new creative team, coming right off of the kind of the 35-issue arc done by Brian Azzarello. Whole new interpretation of the character, whole new creative team, blah, 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 all that. Basically in issue number 1. And I liked this one a lot better than I liked the new Superman Wonder Woman. Because in this one you still have kind of Wonder Woman punching first, asking questions later, kind of her warrior nature taking over. But they also explain why she's behaving like that. And that's like a big important thing, is that in this book, it's just taking Wonder Woman is a warrior character and she punches first and asks questions later. In this book, she does that. She strikes an enemy unawares, Swamp Thing to be precise. But then it's explained why she's behaving like this. She explains it to Aquaman because, and Aquaman calls her out on it. That's like another big thing, that another character isn't just accepting it. He's never seen you like this before, Diana. And she explains that she's under a whole lot of pressure now. And it's like, it's understandable. It doesn't feel like it's forced or anything. It feels like this is a completely understandable way to react, and she's still not merciless. She's just a bit frustrated, and she's taking her anger out on something like that. But she's still good, and kind and stuff at heart. We're aware of that, and that's very important. And as you can probably tell from the pages I've already shown you, here's another good splash page. The art is gorgeous. This was David Finch also did the art on Forever Evil, and I didn't like Forever Evil that much, the art, but I think it's way better in this book. I don't know if it's just because you have a slightly lighter palette. Again, the palette's still kind of dark, but it's a bit more saturated. So that could have something to do with why I like it here. Diana, I guess Diana is a little baby-faced. I don't want to really comment too much on that. But like just compare the faces on these two covers, much rounder. On this one, I don't know. It's more feminine, I guess, or more, I guess, traditionally Western feminine. I don't know. I just something that popped out on me. Especially in this group shot, she kind of looks like a baby. Well, you know, neck up. It's like big cheeks and all that. Anyway, enough about Wonder Woman's head. Yeah, like this book a lot more. Isn't starting off as strong as Azarella's run, but it's really hard to live up to that, to something like that. So, you know, wasn't, you know, gotta give it some slack. That they're basically rebooting this character in a way. And yeah, seems to be an interesting story too. Main plot involves cities just kind of disappearing, big floods, and then perfectly clean the next day. Hundreds of thousands of lives just gone in a flash. And they bring in the Justice League, but of course this is Wonder Woman books. We follow Wonder Woman, who's dealing with this, taking it a little too personally maybe, and then it does get personal. I'm not going to spoil how, because I don't, yeah. So that's what we got there. Again, liked it. That's really all I have to say. I just thought it was worth talking about more, especially in relation to the other Wonder Woman book. Also because it's basically an issue 1. So, moving on to Multiversity, Pax Romana. I forget what number. I think this is number 4, or the 4th Multiversity book. Takes place on Earth 4, I'm pretty sure. Overheard that in the comic shop, and yes, it does. You can see over here, 4 is slightly lighter, or lighter than the other. So, in short, in order to summarize this very succinctly, and I want to get to a page you can really see it in full. Here we go. This is Grant Morrison doing Watchmen with the characters that Alan Moore originally wanted to do Watchmen with. So that, in a nutshell, that is what this book is. It is Grant Morrison's Watchmen, except he's using, famously, I think, if you don't already know, when Alan Moore wrote Watchmen, he wanted to use the Charleston Comics characters. Charleston was recently acquired by DC, and they had the Question, Blue Beetle, Captain Atom, and of course he couldn't use those characters. DC's like, no, you can't use these characters if you're just going to kill them all off like you do. So Alan Moore decided to make his own version. So the Question became Rorschach, Blue Beetle became Night Owl, Captain Atom became Dr. Manhattan, and stuff like that. And so this is just Grant Morrison putting those original characters in the Watchmen story and putting his own twist on it. Of course, everything's a lot shorter, but you get so much, kind of, if you've read Watchmen, you get, and this is a big credit to Frank Quietly, the art. I mean, they redo, of course, Captain Atom to look more like Dr. Manhattan, where you have the thing on the forehead, the hydrogen symbol. Then you have the page right in the middle that's a mirror of itself in reference to, I think it was issue 5 of Watchmen, which was, again, like the middle issue, which was a palindrome, which was the same back and forth, so they even referenced that. They throw in all these really good references to Watchmen. It feels like an abridged Watchmen in a way. It does unravel a bit near the end. It goes a bit memento on us, as Grant Morrison is wont to do, you know, just playing with time and backwards and forwards. And it's commented on within the book. Again, Grant Morrison is nothing if not self-referential, or just referential in general. So it does get a bit hard to follow at the end. It does stray from the Watchmen, kind of what you're expecting in a way, because it just starts going backwards. But yeah, no. I really enjoyed it. Not as much as not as much as some of the other Multiversity books, not as much as the Pulp Fiction one, the Pulp Fiction movie, Pulp Fiction the genre, but I enjoyed it more than the magazine one. I forget whether it was like People, the People magazine covered one. I liked it more than that one. And it's just fun. It's fun to see references, like just wholesale reference, whole cloth references to other books in other books, and done in a very tongue-in-cheek, nodding way. So yeah, just if you're interested, I guess, in reading what Grant Morrison's version of Watchmen would be, pick it up. And now just to talk about some of the other books I've read, even though I don't have a lot to say about them. Future's End, issue 29. I'm pretty sure this is the first issue to only follow a single thread of the story. And because of that, I think it's one of the better issues. It goes really quickly. There's not a lot here. But basically, as you can tell from the cover, we get a new firestorm. You can probably tell how if you've been reading The Future's End. I'm not going to spoil it here so directly. Just one of the stronger single entries in Future's End, even though not one of the bigger issues, except for this happening. We also have Batman Eternal, which at this point feels very much like a game, in terms of just kind of story structure. So in the last issue, Hush discovered a bunch of the emergency caches that Batman has all over Gotham and made one explode. There's 17 left, and now Batman and Alyssa, Alfred's daughter, I keep on forgetting her name, are going all throughout Gotham trying to prevent the rest from exploding. Meanwhile, Lucius Fox is dealing with the repercussions of the Bruce Wayne being attached to Batman financially by saying, oh, one of these exploded, this is a liability, how are we going to solve this? That doesn't get solved in this issue. But it basically feels kind of like an MMO, like a RPG mission, go to these 17 things, beat these 17 enemies, and then you're done. Then mission accomplished. So that's what it feels like right now, kind of like a video game. You have these many things that need something that you have to do something with, go do them, and Batman is just running around Gotham doing all those. Moving on again to Batman and Robin number 36, continuing the story they're doing there. At this point, this and the last issue just feel like they could have been one issue. Just a bunch of Batman in the Hellbat suit blowing shit up. And it's very visceral, very kind of exciting just to read. Lots of bright reds, lots of punching and fighting going on. But it feels more like obstacles in the way of the story instead of part of the story itself. The art's really good. It's really fun to read these scenes, but they're very kind of empty calories. Just not much is going on to develop the characters, the plot in any way. So, yeah, that's really all I have to say about that. Pretty, but empty. And then, last book I read this week, although not the last one I picked up, because this one's still, Spider-Man, Spider-Verse, Spider-Verse issue 2, part 2, Spider-Man part 10, issue 10. And yeah, just the Spider-Verse is escalating. If I have one complaint about this book, is that there are just too many spiders. It gets kind of visually confusing to tell which one is which, because they all have very similar looking costumes and are all grouped in the same place. Word bubbles also, a lot of people were speaking at once, so it can get kind of, you really have to follow which way the word bubble is coming from. And you also have like a lot of people, when they're talking, you see which face, but because they're all wearing masks and the masks are like visually similar, it's just kind of hard to tell unless you're really paying attention to small details. Like here we have Superior and just normal Peter Parker Amazing Spider-Man talking. They both have the red, they both have the eyes. I mean, Doc Ock's webbing is more erratic, he has the black eyes, and Peter's is... But it's just too many spiders, I guess. Spoiled the broth. Yeah, so... But otherwise, I'm really enjoying the story. I want to see where it goes. But yeah, just a little visually saturated. Also, on the cover, for some reason, Superior Spider-Man's hands are humongous. Otherwise, a very nice cover. I like it. I like the art. And I'm liking Spider-Verse. So that's it for issues this week. I'll probably by the weekend get to a review of Casanova Volume 1, hardcover review thing. I'm really excited to read it. I haven't read Casanova before, but as you can tell if you've watched any of these videos, I'm a huge fan of Matt Fraction. This is apparently one of the stronger things he's ever done, which is kind of like an accomplishment considering all the work he's done. So, and we'll get to reading that as soon as I have some free time to read comics again, especially with Smash Brothers coming out, which that would actually be fun. But yeah, thanks for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed. Any thoughts? If you liked the video, thumbs up. If any thoughts, put them in the comments. Feel free to message me with complaints, suggestions, anything you feel like. I'm open to anything. And I hope you will join me next week for some more comic book reviews. Thanks again for watching.